You're listening to Keystone Cold Cases, a podcast where we reignite cold cases across Pennsylvania.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Hey, it's Grace.
Hey, it's Melissa.
Hi, it's Shannon.
And hey, it's Ed. So today we're going to dive into the case of Ilonka Cann. She was a 22-year-old stay-at-home mom from rural Huntington Mills. And I found that this is also called Shickshinny. Have any of you guys ever been in this area?
No, I've
Yes.
never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's kind of a coal region. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So I looked it up on Google Maps, and it's kind of like a stone's throw from Berwick, Bloomsburg, Wilkes-Barre, up in that area. But I've heard it called Huntington Mills. I've heard it called Huntington Township, Shickshinny. I mean, it's so when I use this term, they're all interchangeable.
I didn't realize those were the same. I've heard of Huntington Township, but I'm from the Bloomsburg area. My family is, and I've only ever heard Shickshinny in reference to that. So that's interesting.
Well, that's kind of where this story takes place. It's in the Shickshinny area. It was on formerly Shickshinny Road.
Okay.
So it's kind of right in this rural farming community. So not much has been published about Ilonka's personal life other than she was a quiet woman who mostly kept to herself. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, and was described as being 5'6" and 122 pounds. If you guys look, there's a picture of her down there. She has that typical kind of 1960s bob. The first thing I thought of was like June Cleaver when I saw it.
I thought she looked like she reminded me
Is that a bob?
of... Yes, and she reminded me of the woman in Bewitched who played Samantha, Elizabeth Montgomery. She had
Yes.
that
Yeah.
exact... She looks
Yes.
just like her.
It like flips out.
Yes.
Yep.
You're right.
Getting into the case. So sometime, things are a little fuzzy on the backstory, but sometime in the mid-1960s, Ilonka met Charles Cann Jr. while attending college at Morehead State University in Morehead, Kentucky. And I was unable to figure out kind of if Ilonka and Charles were... I know Ilonka was originally from Ohio. And it was strange that I don't know how they both ended up in college in Kentucky. But regardless, I was unable to kind of figure out how these people ended up in Kentucky, especially the University of Kentucky, because Charles was originally from Kentucky. His dad owned a trailer in Benton, which from Huntington Mills is only about a 20-minute drive west down Route 239. And he also had a permanent home in Hackettstown, New Jersey. And I know that Ilonka and her family were originally from Ohio. So how they ended up in Kentucky, I have no idea. Regardless, in 1968, the couple wed and they moved into a 2-story farmhouse on approximately 75 acres of land on Shickshinny Road 3. Looking at it from the aerial view, it is a massive, massive property. It takes up the whole screen.
Wow.
There are some clumps of woods, but it's mostly fields, swampland, and there's a 14-foot deep lake behind the house where Charles and Ilonka lived. The nearest neighbor lived a quarter mile away down a dirt road. By 1970, Charles was working as a shop teacher at nearby Berwick Junior High, and Ilonka was a stay-at-home mom to the couple's 15-year-old son, Charles Cann III. In this story, there's a lot of Charles Cann, so we got to try to keep them straight. There's Charles Cann Sr., who's the dad, Charles Cann Jr., who Ilonka was married to, and then their son is Charles Cann III.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So it'll all come into play. So while at home, one of Ilonka's favorite activities was listening to the Top 100 on the radio. She especially loved the Beatles and Bobby Vinton. And one important thing to also note was that Ilonka didn't drive or own a vehicle. And she was 3 months pregnant with the couple's second child, which only a few close friends knew about. For the Canns, everything seemed picture perfect until Tuesday, May 26, 1970. At 7:30 a.m. that morning, Charles kissed Ilonka goodbye before heading off to school. When he returned around 3:30, he opened the door and heard the 15-month-old crying in his crib upstairs. Charles Jr. immediately contacted his father, Charles Sr., who met him at the farm. The two searched the property high and low, but Ilonka was nowhere to be found. However, her purse and some money was still in the home.
What a scary thing to come home and hear your baby crying and your wife's personal belongings that she would normally take with her are still there. Like, that just sounds eerie.
Right.
Do we know if the door was locked or if it looked like someone had tried to break in?
That I don't know. When I get into the investigation later, the cops thought it looked pretty normal. Like there was no sign of a burglary or anything. So it was just like she vanished.
Right.
So it was pretty crazy. And the fact that she didn't drive, that's the scary part.
And she left her poor baby.
And that's the other thing. Like, what mom would leave a 15-month-old behind? So here's where things start to get suspicious. Charles waited 24 hours before driving to the Pennsylvania State Police Barracks in Shickshinny to report Ilonka missing. According to the police reports, Charles gave 2 reasons for his actions. 1, he thought there was a mandatory 24-hour waiting period to report someone missing. And 2, he was concerned about his job and his 15-month-old son. According to Charles, he had no idea where Ilonka could have gone, but he knew he needed someone to watch Charles III so he could make it to work the next day. So around 9 p.m., he and his father drove the baby to his parents' place in New Jersey so his mother could care for him. He drove back to Huntington Mills and attended school the next day.
I'm sorry.
So right there, you...
Your wife is missing and left your baby behind, which you know is not right, and you're concerned about your job. Your baby, sure, but your job?
I know.
Yeah, very sus.
Yeah, he definitely showed up for work the next day.
Oh,
So,
man. Okay.
State police immediately launched an investigation. Over 100 officers, along with volunteers from the Huntington Township Fire Company, descended on the Cann's sprawling property. They searched extensively the home, grounds, and neighboring farms, but turned up nothing. According to Pennsylvania State Sergeant Carl Gers, G-U-E-R-S, there was no sign of any violence. Their house was clean. As I remember, there were a few dishes in the sink. She just disappeared into thin air. We checked just about every inch of that farm. We'd done a lot of walking and tramping through woods, always looking for fresh ground or what might be a grave or something like that. It looked like she just disappeared off the face of the earth. Pete Schurer, treasurer of the Huntington Township Fire Company, told reporters that volunteers and police walked side by side so they would not miss any ground. Some places were real swampy, and we went right through the swamp and all, making sure nothing seemed to be overturned. It was knee-deep in some places. We searched the woods all over and couldn't find anything. There wasn't a clue or any reason that she'd run away. The following day, the Scranton Police scuba team spent 3 hours searching the large pond on the Cann's farm, but turned up nothing. Police also checked all local train, bus, and airplane departures, but could find no evidence that Ilonka was on any of them. So, by all accounts, it seemed like Ilonka vanished into thin air. And kind of based on the facts so far, what do you all think happened? I mean, to me, there seems like 3 possibilities. 1, did Ilonka choose to leave on her own, leave Charles behind, leave the baby behind, and just start a new life? Was someone on the property that day and maybe kidnapped Ilonka while Charles was at school? Or did Charles have something to do with it? Kind of how I see it.
Was there any talk
Agree.
about her having any sort of negative feelings about being pregnant again?
Yes, and it didn't come out necessarily right away.
Okay.
But yes.
So like...
And I have some kind of more things to reveal.
Okay.
I was going to
As we
ask,
go along.
how did he feel about the pregnancy? Like the husband?
It's funny you ask. So we can let me get into the investigation.
Okay,
You'll
sorry.
see this all kind of come to light.
Okay.
No, that's okay. No, that's a very good question. I was like, do we talk about it now? Because I kind of want to leave this. No. So tips were hard to come by. And so remember, the closest neighbor lived a quarter mile away. So if anything happened on that property, chances are no one heard or saw anything. It was pretty out there.
Right.
However, during a canvass of the area, one neighbor did mention seeing a vehicle that he didn't recognize driving on a dirt lane leading to the Cann's house. Sorry, I get that mixed up. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I think it's Cann. Leading up to the Cann's house the night before Ilonka vanished. Unfortunately, not much could be done with the tip. And there was only one real kind of red herring that I found, and he popped up in a Bloomsburg Press Enterprise article in 1993. Sergeant Carl Gers told reporters that back in 1970, police had identified a man who they believed knew something about Ilonka's disappearance. Gers wouldn't name the suspect, but said, "Our investigation did center around one person. We checked the fella out quite a bit, but just couldn't put anything all together. Unfortunately, that suspect died sometime between 1970, when Ilonka went missing, and 1993, when the article was published." So I looked into this a little bit further, and I think it sounds like Gers was referring to a neighbor named Pete, but kind of not much happened with it.
So we don't know why he was a suspect.
We don't know. No, and then so much time had passed, and he had passed away. So that was really the only info I could find on it. So rewind back to 1970, specifically September 4th, 4 months after Ilonka vanished. And Ilonka's family has identified a suspect of their own, and they decided to take matters into their own hands. as I tell you this story, I just want to say I love vigilante justice. Like, I don't condone it, but I do love that. I feel like that's how I would respond if like something happened to my family.
That sounds like my husband. That sounds like a husband thing, actually.
Yes.
Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on September 21st, around 10 a.m., Clinton Harless, Ilonka's father, rounded up a distant relative named Paul Allen, who lived in Julian, West Virginia. The two drove to the Cann's farmhouse in Huntington Mills, or Shickshinny. Before leaving, Harless told his wife that he was just going to do some more searching on the property. But in reality, they were 100% certain Ilonka's husband, Charles, or his father, Charles Sr., had something to do with this or had knowledge. When Harless and Paul arrived, they encountered Charles Cann Sr. on the property and immediately grabbed him by the arm, saying, "We're going to have a little man-to-man talk." They dragged the elder Cann into the woods and chained him to a tree by his neck,
Wow.
putting a padlock on
Oh
it.
my God, I was not expecting that.
Right? I wasn't either. I'm like, wow, this wasn't just a man-to-man talk. This was,
Oh, whoa.
he wanted info. Harless would later testify, my daughter was missing and they would never give me any answers to the questions I would ask. They kept changing the subject. So for the next 5 hours, Clinton Harless and Paul Allen threatened Charles Cann Sr. with an ice pick and what turned out to be an unloaded BB gun. They never caused Cann Sr. any physical harm. Instead, they were just trying to scare him into talking. But Cann Sr. never gave them any additional information, only told them more big tales.
So they're saying their stories were constantly changing. They had a different version of events each time they questioned them. So there was like
Yeah, it's almost like they didn't give him...
really no consistency there.
Yeah, they just kind of kept dodging the questions.
Yeah, that's shady.
So, real suspicious. Around 3:15 that afternoon, the men noticed a car pulling up to the house. It was Ilonka's husband, Charles Jr., returning home from school. Harless testified to telling Charles Sr. that if they brought his son to see him when he was tied up, then he would surely talk. When Charles Jr. exited his car, Paul Allen ambushed him and a struggle ensued. Charles Jr. managed to get away and run to his neighbor house, which was a quarter-mile away, and call police. And now, this was kind of the interesting, like, I get what they were doing, but this was an interesting little tidbit that kind of came out about that altercation. So Harless was alleged to have told Charles Cann Sr. that since he, meaning Carl Cann Sr., was once a medic in the Navy, that he performed an abortion on Ilonka's unborn child and she died as a result. Charles Cann Sr. asked Clinton Harless if he thought his daughter would allow an abortion, to which Harless replied no, that Cann Sr. probably drugged Ilonka because he would know how to get drugs. So any thoughts on that theory? That the pregnancy played a role in her disappearance?
I think it did.
So they're saying that the senior drugged her and performed an abortion without her knowing?
Something to that effect?
That's dark.
I think he was grasping at straws and just
Maybe he knew something.
kind of looking for answers.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be really frustrated.
I mean, I could see that, especially if the husband wasn't super happy about it. Do we know, is there like financial strain or did he just not want another kid? Do we know any of that?
We do, and that's all. This is all building.
I keep skipping
Your questions
ahead.
are really
I'm
good.
sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. I can just tell you the end.
so
and we can just go right to the end if you. Clinton Harless and Paul Allen were arrested and later that month charged with assault and battery. They were each released on $500 bail. And what's awesome is they eventually had a bench trial, which is like, you guys know what that is? Like without a judge, or without a jury. It's just in front of a judge. And they were found guilty, but their sentence was that they never returned to Luzerne County again. And according to the source of mine, who I will not name, they both adhered to that order and have never been back in Luzerne County.
I love that. It's like, okay, just get out of here. You're someone else's problem now. Like, that's
Exactly.
my favorite kind of justice.
Don't do it again.
Just don't do it again. Don't come back here, bother someone else.
That's just an
Exactly.
interesting sentence, just being exiled. Like,
Yeah.
get out of
Right.
here, don't
and
come
the
back.
fact that they, as far as everybody knows, they have not.
Huh.
On May 28th, 1971, on the one-year anniversary of Ilonka being reported missing, Clinton Harless takes out an ad in the Berwick Enterprise asking for any information about his missing daughter, along with the offer of a $1,000 reward. That's about $8,000 today. I kind of used the online calculator, so about $8,000. No new leads were developed, unfortunately. So this is where things start to get even stranger. So around this time, Charles Cann Jr., Ilonka's husband, begins dating Grace Page Brown. She's an art teacher at Berwick Senior High. So I guess they met through school functions because he worked at the junior high as a shop teacher. Grace quickly moves into the farmhouse in Huntington Mills and was fully aware of Charles's marriage to Ilonka, as well as the mysterious circumstances surrounding her disappearance. Still, Grace took Charles's last name without Charles ever filing for divorce from Ilonka or trying to have her declared legally dead. So now, within a year, he's got this other woman in there, and she's, by all accounts, a second wife.
So they can't get legally married because he's still technically married, but she changed her last name. That's what you're saying?
Correct. So they like pretend married, and it kind of...
That's not weird.
No, not at all.
And is he still raising the baby, or did he it's her parents, or?
I did find out that the baby was with his parents.
Oh, okay.
His parents. As time passes, rumors continue to swirl around Shickshinny regarding Charles's involvement. Charles Jr., that is. Some of the things I was told about his reputation and behavior were I mentioned off the record, so I can't get into too much, but it's safe to say that many in town suspected Charles Jr.
I'm starting to as well.
Are you? Yeah.
Me too.
And get smart. During the next 10 years, Charles finds himself back in the spotlight on several occasions. In November of 1971, 6 months after Ilonka's disappearance, Charles Jr. and a relative named Cecilia, and this is strange, I could not find who Cecilia is. It could be a sister, a mom, I don't know who Cecilia is. But they publish a letter to Ilonka in the local newspaper. And when I saw the headline, I was fully expecting to read a letter of hope, like, Ilonka, if you read this, please come home,
Sure.
something like that. So, but here's what the letter says. To Ilonka Cann, you are hereby notified that Charles Cann and Cecilia Cann have filed a petition of adoption for your son, Charles Cann III, which petition alleges that you abandoned your son for a period of 6 months and more, and a hearing thereon has been fixed for December 2nd, 1971 at 2 p.m. in the Court of Common Pleas of Luzerne County Orphans Court Division, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. If you fail to appear and defend yourself against the allegation of abandonment, a decree in adoption may be granted in your absence.
What?
So,
Wow.
it's like is he deflecting, you know how suspects some kind of
Right.
over insert themselves
Yes.
into
Yeah.
things just to deflect suspicion? That's what it feels like to me.
And we don't know who this Cecilia is, how she's
She's got the last name Cann, so it's got to be someone in his family.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who.
It's not his mother.
Weird.
Sorry, I don't remember if you gave his mother's name earlier.
I don't think I know his mother's name. No, I don't know.
I don't even know what to make of that at all.
I know.
Yeah.
That's either if he's innocent, it's a jolt to get her to, either come back or get in touch or something, or like you said, a deflection of guilt.
Yeah, over make yourself appear like not the guy,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
so that people think you're not the guy.
Yeah, yep, that's what people are thinking for sure.
Yeah, right. Fast forward to January 1975. So now we're about 5.5 years after Ilonka's disappearance, and Charles Cann Jr. is indicted on 2 counts of making terroristic threats and 1 count of recklessly endangering another person. And very few details about this exist, but it seems like a pretty serious charge.
Yeah.
But it was newspaper worthy, but it was pretty vague. Then in July of 1977, Charles Cann was fired from his teaching job at Berwick Junior High. The dismissal case involved charges of immorality based on use of profanity. The local directors cited persistent negligence in Cann's termination. And I found out later he was actually making inappropriate remarks to female students and would also fly off the handle when he got upset.
I'm glad he got fired
thanks,
for
Amang.
that, but he didn't get fired for being indicted on making
That's
terroristic
what I was
threats
thinking.
and reckless endangerment 2 years before that.
And maybe it was coming. Maybe they were building a case against him and it just took a year and a half, 2 years to get it all together. I don't know.
That's fair.
And it was also 1977, so
Also fair, but
times were
holy
different.
cow. And
Yeah.
I actually think I'll have to check with my father-in-law. He's from Berwick. He might have been going to the school at this time. I'll have to ask him.
Oh man.
Yeah.
See if he
Yeah,
knows.
I will.
But I tried to, like, when I hear these things, I'm like trying to put myself back in that era and just realize how different things were. And even like perhaps Ilonka's role in the house. Maybe she was like told to be a stay-at-home mom and just kind of do that 50s, 60s kind of mentality.
Sure.
Like, you know, you're not working, you're just staying home, you're going to take care of the kids. So following Cann's firing, he opened Green Tree Enterprises, a construction company that specializes in pole buildings. And the business still remains in operation today. I checked it out.
I've heard of it.
It's listed at his home. Yeah.
Oh,
So that's Charles Cann.
weird.
Wow.
Great reviews, by the way. Apparently he builds an amazing pole building.
Just sucks as a person.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah. The next milestone in the case happens in 1987. So now we're about 17 years after Ilonka's disappearance. Grace Brown Cann files for divorce from Charles Cann. And now this is a problem because remember, Charles Cann is still legally married to Ilonka. So she's trying to divorce him as well. But there's all kinds of legal ramifications because it's held up in court because they don't know what to do. It's like technically you're still married to Ilonka, but she's clearly missing. So.
But I thought they were never technically, he and Grace were never able to get technically married.
They weren't. But so in Grace's petition, she states that because she had cohabitated with Charles since 1971, they were common law.
Okay.
So
Got
when
it.
she wanted out, she wanted alimony, she wanted equitable distribution, she wanted legal fees,
Okay.
all the stuff. But it was like, can you give that to her if he's still married, you know?
Did they ever have kids together?
No. Not that I could tell. Ultimately, the court ruled that Grace and Charles had entered into a common law marriage on June 1st, 1982. And I'm not sure how they picked that date because she moved in 71. And that Grace could proceed with her divorce action. The divorce was granted in 1990. Charles appealed, and the court ruled that even though he had never tried to have Ilonka legally declared dead, she was presumed deceased as of 1977, 7 years after her disappearance. So she got the divorce and all that money.
But it took 8 years?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's see, 1987 is when she filed.
Okay,
It took 3 years.
I see. Yeah,
3
sorry.
years.
They were entered into the common law in 82.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes. Yeah. So, and one thing that not mentioned in the filing was the reason Grace wanted out. And I learned the details later on, and I'll get to them in just a bit. And when you hear them, your jaw will hit the floor. I mean, it's insane. Not much happens with the case until 1993 when a cold case team takes another look at the case. According to an article in the Bloomsburg Press Enterprise, Pennsylvania State Police were in the process of contacting every person who was involved in this case 23 years ago. The article reveals some interesting details that hadn't been released in the 70s, like the suspicious vehicle driving on the Cann's property and the suspect police looked at quite a bit. But at the end of the day, detectives failed to drum up any new evidence. So at this point, the mystery surrounding Ilonka Cann's disappearance has become a thing of Huntington Mills lore. And as we know, what happens with these old cold cases, like time passes, witnesses die, people's memories fade, so the chance of solving a case this old kind of goes out the window every year that passes.
Did they really have any evidence?
So,
I mean, from the house or any physical evidence?
no, and the only thing they did as far as kind of forensics go is they in 93 they took familial DNA, like they took DNA samples from her parents, her sibling, just in case they find her. They wanted to do a match, but as far as like physical evidence, there really was none.
Wow.
So, but her story does not end there. So in July of 2022, so this is just last year, I was tipped off about a potential development. And this is where I first heard about the story, I should tell you. So it was last July. I was talking to my source, and he brought up this case that I had never heard of. And he's like, something big's in the works, we think. Right? So the Pennsylvania State Police were organizing a dig at 70 Cann Road, former Shickshinny Road 3. So in that, over those years, it was renamed Cann Road because of how much property his family's land took up. So now this road where this happened is Cann Road. Their intent was to drain the large pond on Cann's property and use new technology called ground-penetrating radar system, which identifies anomalies and or voids in the soil. So when what I read, the pond, when it was searched in the 70s, they used like a grappling hook to dredge. The scuba divers went under and like just drug a grappling hook, hoping that it'll catch something.
Sure.
So obviously technology had grown so much since then. They hoped that new technology would be able to locate Ilonka's body. And so needless to say, when I heard this, my first question was what information sparked this search? Like the case was essentially dormant for all those years. Like what happened? And he couldn't tell me much at the time, only that an investigation was quietly happening behind closed doors. So I didn't know much. I just knew like something big was happening. They were maybe going to find Ilonka.
Oh, that's always so interesting. Like, what tip did they get? What did they find out? Why did they suddenly decide to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, what were they hearing? And it has to be like to dig up somebody's property. This can't just be like, I think he did it. Like, it needs to be.
Is that
big.
Still their property? Do we know? Or is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
He still lives there.
Wow.
Yeah. Cann still lives there. That's where the address for Green Tree Enterprises is 70 Cann Road. So I waited eagerly for details to surface, and finally, on July 27th, news of the dig hit the papers. Sadly, in the article, police chose to remain mum on the results, but it doesn't appear that Ilonka was found. So that was kind of sad to hear. Like, I was waiting for this big
reveal,
aha moment, this big crescendo, and it just never happened.
I feel like we run into that a lot investigating and researching cold cases, and especially, police will say a press conference is coming or something like that, and I'm like, this article was 3 years old and there's no update. Like, it's so frustrating.
Right. That's got to be.
And the article never said, it didn't say they didn't find her either. So it was kind of real vague. Like, they're digging. Stay tuned.
Sure.
That's got to be so tough, because as you're telling it, like, I'm sitting here holding my breath, like, we're going to find her. So I can't even imagine how the police and everyone working so hard on this have to feel.
Yeah.
I know. And you're when you're getting like apparently great tips about something and then it just doesn't pay it out. It's like, man, you had them. So in preparation for this episode, I followed up with my contact on like what happened in all this. And he sent me some incredible information. So he emailed me the search warrant application that was submitted by the state police for the dig. And needless to say, I was blown away. So if you're familiar with these documents, they outline all of the evidence that police have to explain why a judge should authorize this warrant. So the judge will read it and see all this proof and sign off on it. And I should mention that this is now a publicly available court document. However, from what I can tell, this hasn't been picked up by any media outlet. So there's a good chance what I'm going to say has never been heard before, which is awesome.
We're all leaning closer to the...
I know.
Even though we're
really holding my breath.
wearing headphones, but we're like...
So you won't find this anywhere. This isn't out there yet at all. But this is from the search warrant application. In May of 1970, just a few weeks before her disappearance, Ilonka Cann wrote 2 letters to her parents back in Ohio, saying how bad things were between she and Charles. The gist of the letters is that Charles's father, Charles Sr., controls everything his son does. He shows up unannounced and makes life miserable for her, and the friction between Ilonka and Charles Sr. was becoming unbearable. So obviously this caused a rift between she and Charles Jr., who she refers to as Chuck. Ilonka wrote that she confronted her husband and they decided to call it quits, and that she was working on a plan to move home to Ohio with her parents.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Also, the morning before she vanished, Ilonka and her mom talked on the telephone. I don't know if they discussed any of these kind of marital issues, but Ilonka was in tears telling her mom how homesick she was. So, and this was just the morning before. So, the court document also revealed that 2 weeks prior to her disappearance, Ilonka told a friend that she was pregnant and that Charles was furious about the news. He'd always threatened to leave her if she had another baby.
What?
So here's all your questions about how Charles felt. Here, they're coming to light.
Does he realize that it takes 2 people to make a baby, that he had to be involved in that?
He was there too.
Yeah. You were there. That's...
I know.
Bizarre, to say the least.
So, and this was like common knowledge that he did not want another baby and would just leave. And I would suspect that if Ilonka left with the baby, he would owe child support, alimony, all this other stuff. So this could have been financially motivated for all we know.
Yep.
I was just going to say, I feel like the whole abortion gone wrong theory is looking stronger and stronger as we go, especially now that we know
that's what I was going to say. It explains why her father made that accusation.
Right.
How sad.
Truly. It really is sad. And I mean, it sounds like this, and I'm going to get into some stuff here that's just, it's insane. And you could tell she really loved Despite all of this, she loved Charles dearly and wanted to make it work, but it was just becoming too much. Ilonka had expressed this same concern to several friends about Charles being upset by the baby, but would never say this within earshot of Charles out of fear. Any conversations on the matter would always take place on the dirt road outside their home. So if she was talking to a neighbor or something, they would go down the dirt road just away from the house. So it seemed pretty clear that she was terrified of him.
Do we know, had he been abusive in the past?
Was just going to ask that. Yep.
Yeah.
A couple other little things came out, and yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sad.
Police interviewed several of Ilonka's friends, and I believe this was around 2016. This was after the case was reopened, but not right after. So police interviewed several of Ilonka's friends, including her college roommate. And remember, Charles and Ilonka had met in college, so she had kind of direct knowledge of the relationship. And one particularly troubling story emerged. According to the roommate, Charles expected Ilonka to be in certain places at certain times. He would become angry if she was not there or if she was late. As punishment, Charles would make Ilonka take a cold shower in the middle of winter and walk home nearly a half mile in wet clothing.
Oh.
This really upset Ilonka, obviously, but she loved Charles and was determined to make things work. So already back in college,
Poor
red flag
signs were...
Poor woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
So full on abuse and
It seemed like it, yeah.
emotional and physical, and he just had all the power. Ugh.
Right. And I'm guessing because she wasn't working, she kind of felt tied to him. So now I want to get into some of the suspicious things that were happening on Charles's farm. And this is kind of what opens the door for this search warrant. This is what I was like, the burning question I had. So during the time that police were initially searching for Ilonka in 1970, Charles had several bulldozers on the property and was in the process of making his pond deeper. At the time, police thought nothing of it. But when cold case investigators looked at property records, they noticed the pond had changed shape or been altered several times over the years. Shorelines were moved in and out, and excessive amounts of dirt had been shifted. Most notably, a second, smaller pond was now present on Charles's property. When questioned, Charles claimed that the smaller pond formed in 1972 in the aftermath of Hurricane Agnes. Interestingly, there was an island in the smaller pond with a single pine tree planted in the middle. And that may not seem super interesting, but get this. In May of 2022, an acquaintance of Charles, whose name I cannot mention to protect his anonymity, was interviewed by police and told them about an interesting encounter he had with Charles Cann. I don't know when this encounter happened, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest. Apparently, each man owed the other money. For what? I don't know. Could be gambling, could be business related. But as they bickered about the debts one day, Charles threatened the man, then followed up on the threat by saying, "It's like burying your wife under a pine tree."
Okay.
Wow.
Not a common phrase. I
Right.
don't think
No.
I've ever heard anyone, just say that out of the blue.
And that is especially interesting because, do you remember the name of his business?
Green tree.
Oh,
Green
Green
tree.
tree.
Oh.
Ew.
And that was started after Ilonka went missing.
Wow.
Ew.
So super creepy. Super creepy.
Is he like trying to be obvious?
He's arrogant.
Suspects do that
Yeah,
sometimes.
You're right.
They just like, they're like toying with police almost. Like, catch me if you can.
I was going to say, do you think he thinks it's like a game, like he's doing it to taunt them?
It's hard to say because they didn't find anything there when they dug it up. So like but that was the evidence they had that was like, it's all coming together because everyone in town thought that that's what happened.
Wow.
This island came out of nowhere.
From the way he's treated her in the past that we know of, he probably has a lot of narcissistic traits. So he's probably getting off on it.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Ugh.
I would think so.
They don't think like us. It's really hard for us to wrap our minds around like how that would make sense, but they just have.
And obviously not saying he was never arrested. He was never charged. So, I mean, it's hard to like paint him as the guy who did it. But I mean, these are the facts.
Yes.
So, I mean, it sure does not look good for Charles Cann Jr.
Do we know if there was abuse between him and Grace? Is that the second wife?
You are
Psychic.
you are one paragraph ahead.
I keep jumping on it.
Yes,
I told you
there
I'm
was.
so excited.
So the last thing I want to mention regarding that acquaintance's 2022 conversation with police. So it wasn't 2016, it was 22. He told detectives that a few years back when the case was reopened, police plastered missing persons flyers all around town. When the posters started appearing, the acquaintance happened to drive by Charles's farm and saw him in his backhoe digging out an area of the pond to the rear of his residence. He stopped and asked Charles what he was doing, and Charles responded that he was replacing the siphons that fed the pond. But the acquaintance believed the posters scared Charles, that the case was being reopened, and he was making sure the rear of that pond wouldn't dry out. So that was kind of the town perception. Anyway, so that's what kind of sparked that dig, and why police were so hopeful that she was going to be under that tree under the island.
Wow.
So, but she wasn't. It should also be noted that in all those years, Charles did not call police once for an update on the investigation into his wife's disappearance. In fact, he told them during a 2017 interview that he was angry every time her case got publicity because it was hurting his business.
What the hell?
Oh,
Charles?
setting that business right under.
I thought you were going to say it was hurting him. It was hurting the child, Charles III. But no, it's his business. Okay.
Yeah.
He's not even trying to appear like a good guy. He's just like...
No,
he's
not at all.
Leaning into that villain.
And it takes you back to that letter he put in the newspaper. Like are all these calculated moves that he did in all those years? I don't know.
Ugh. So he might not be a murderer, but he's kind of an a-hole.
Yeah.
For sure.
Pole buildings, 5 stars.
Yeah.
Husband, 1 star.
Would leave 0 stars if I could.
Would.
Do not recommend.
Would not marry again. Yeah, do not recommend. Also included in the search warrant application were details about Grace Page Brown's divorce decree. And this was the stuff that when you read the decree, it doesn't mention anything about the cause. It's just, this is the facts. In an interview Grace did with police in 1995, she states that over the course of their relationship, Charles became increasingly protective and jealous. One night, toward the end of their marriage, Grace came home late from a night out only to find a very nice note taped to the front door. Does anyone want to guess what it says?
Oh, honey, I missed you so much.
Hope you had a nice time.
XOXO.
Yeah, it was get the f*** out, you slut.
Oh,
wow.
My goodness.
That was the note that Charles left for Grace.
How do you
when
write
she
that
came
to
home late.
someone you quote unquote love? How do you even say those words to someone you love?
He doesn't love anybody but himself.
These are fragile male egos.
Guy.
Yeah, I'll say. I will say.
Upon entering the residence, Grace and Charles began to argue. During the fight, Charles pushed Grace down a flight of stairs, grabbed a rifle, and pushed it into her back, causing Grace to leave the home and check herself into a women's shelter in Bloomsburg. Grace eventually returned home and asked for a divorce. That's when Charles pointed a gun at her head and threatened to kill her, saying, "I'm going to put you where I put Ilonka."
Oh, wow.
So if that doesn't scream guilty, I don't know what does.
Yeah. Holy cow.
As we know, Grace went on to serve Charles with divorce papers, but she also filed an order of protection as well.
Good for her.
So that was kind of the end. And that's kind of where the case ends until something just happened about 10 months ago. And I don't know if this is related to the investigation or not, but it's so suspicious that when I read it, I'm like, I called my contact and I'm like, what? And he doesn't know. So just to put you in time, this took place 5 months after, so 10 months ago from now, 5 months after they drained Cann's pond and didn't find anything. So flipping through and the headline reads, "Fire reduces home to rubble." And there's a picture of firefighters working to put out a smoldering farmhouse on the Cann's property. And I looked at the property records. I am not 100% sure this is the house where they live because there's a couple buildings, but I'm pretty sure it's the house where they lived, burnt to the ground. I mean, just completely. The Huntington Valley Fire Chief Doug Thomas said the house was fully engulfed in flames when we got there just after 10 a.m. While the fire doesn't appear to be suspicious, it'll be nearly impossible to tell what caused it. The house was so badly destroyed that by the time the fire was extinguished, only a chimney remained.
Whoa.
Wow.
It should be noted that there was no one in the home when the fire occurred.
What teacher was he?
Thoughts?
Like, what subject did he teach?
He was a shop teacher.
Were you wondering if it was like
science,
chemistry or?
I'm sure he could figure out how to make a fire without it, not them being able to tell how it started.
I think it was by the time firefighters got there, it was so badly damaged they hadn't got there in time to figure anything out.
Yeah, I was kind of going to say, how long had it been burning? I mean, fire moves fast, but for the entire house to be that destroyed, it would have had to have been burning for a while.
And like your mind goes to arson, like he's covering up something.
Yeah.
But it'd been 53 years, you know? So like, I mean, at that point, is anything left anyway?
That's
usable?
true.
I wonder if it was some sort of insurance fraud. I mean, he's so... That's
I wouldn't put it past
speculation. This is just my mind working. But I mean, if he's so concerned with his business, it's just kind of like, but that's obviously...
I was thinking about insurance as a motive, but if he never declared her dead, then he wouldn't be able to collect it, right?
Correct. And the courts declared her deceased in that divorce case, but it wasn't like an official declaration of death. It was just for that divorce, that specific thing. So I think legally she's still a missing person.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So he never filed then. He never went ahead and filed to have her declared legally deceased. That's interesting.
No. Right. So I don't know what that means or why he chose to do that.
Does the son, Charles III, has he come out and said anything? I mean, does he have a relationship with his father? Was his father abusive to him?
He has a Facebook page that's interesting.
Okay.
I don't know any details about his relationship with his parents or Ilonka's side of the family or anything like that. But I will send you the link later.
Thank you. Is Charles Sr. still alive? Okay.
Yep, he still runs Green Tree Enterprise. Oh, Charles Sr.?
Yeah,
No. Sr. is dead. He passed away sometime during the investigation. He passed away.
Okay.
So
wow, that's a doozy.
I know. Still no signs of Ilonka. No arrests have been made. And I do have some inside information that I will hopefully be able to share at a later date. But for now, the case, the 53-year-old case remains open. Stay tuned.
That was great. I mean, I hope that you can update us in the future. And hopefully they can find her or figure something out. You know, her son deserves to know.
Well, and I know. And that's what his Facebook page didn't really give much of an indication that he has a close relationship with anyone, really.
Well, if you want to find out more about us, the pod, and the cases we cover, or you want to suggest a case, please visit us at kccpod.com. That's kccpod.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at Keystone Cold Cases and Instagram at KCCPod, or you can send us an email at keystonecoldcases@gmail.com. And please leave us a review on whatever platform you listen to.
That is all we have for this episode of the Keystone Cold Cases podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and please consider leaving us a review wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to find out more about us, the pod, and the cases we cover, or want to suggest a case, please visit us at kccpod.com or send us an email at keystonecoldcases@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at Keystone Cold Cases and on Instagram and TikTok at KCCPod. Please remember, never reach out to family or friends of the victims, only to law enforcement if you have any tips. This episode was researched and hosted by Ed. Find all of our sources, social info, and contact information at kccpod.com. Theme music and production assistance from Darren Makins. Join us again next week for another case to sleuth out.